Good evening. Hello.
Hi,
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I'm Dave.
And I'm Marcia Ann Condon.
And this is Unstuck, Unplugged, Thursday nights, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we are going live today.
And we do every Thursday night, so just to let you guys know that Thursday nights at 8, we will be going live. We have been since March, and it's just something that the Father has placed on our heart, is to communicate. It's pretty much it in a nutshell. But to be open about being honest with how it is with relationships, whether marriage or friendships or church relationships, work, whatever, they go across the board. And they were first, of course, we first learned how to do relationship from the original home that we were raised in, or our family of origin.
Yeah.
And so from there, we learned a lot of stuff about communication and conflict resolution and grace and the fruits, what fruits are we demonstrated. And so we've just really felt like there's such a need for that, for the honesty, the humility, the vulnerability, we say, like, we're going to, remove fig leaves, we're not going to stand behind shame. And so we're open to even other discussions or topics. Dave and I both come from sexual addictions, so we kind of and a lot of shame. So with that, when you are in a sexual addiction, whether it's pornography or any kind of lust-filled addiction, or your relationship addiction, which is you're just needing another relationship. You can't just be your own person and be okay, but you're always needing new relationships and somebody else filling up your time, and in a sense, so that you can cope. Mm-hmm. You don't know how to cope.
I think that's almost with any type of relation or any type of addiction, whether it's alcohol or drugs.
It is a relationship.
Or food. It's
whether you're having a relationship with a bottle.
Yeah.
Hi, Ryan. Love you, sweetie.
Yeah.
Or having a relationship with a cigarette.
Cigarettes or whatever the addiction.
Or a Twinkie. Twinkie.
I
just love saying that word.
You're always looking for the next thing. That's your coping mechanism.
Yeah.
I think I know for me, porn was my coping mechanism.
And relationships, or I needed a new person, a new man, to pay attention to me, and so therefore to get over the pain of the one that just left me. So I was constantly looking for someone to be in awe of me, in a sense. That little girl never got that sense of importance, or that she was special, so she was constantly looking for somebody to show her that. And there was such an excitement for me to get into a new relationship that became a drug, because we have to recognize that there's certain chemicals released in the brain with that, and it's those dopamines, which we get even from looking at Facebook and Instagram and all these other things. There's that too. That's why those are becoming addictions. There's a certain dopamine that's released.
So, question: since you've come out of the sexual addiction,
it's been, Jesus delivered me in Good Friday of 2012, and so that was, when you radically encounter Him, it was an instant miracle, an instant transformation. But then your question,
the question was going to be, I don't remember. What now fills that need or that void? Where are you getting that? Where are you getting that met now?
From Him, just from Him. And it was a process. It really was a process, because, like what our topic is on tonight, which is reactionary responses and trauma, and so your brain has been impacted by trauma, and therefore it can be, I have found that subconsciously is what I need to be aware of. I need to love that part of me too, my subconscious mind as well. because my conscious mind might be just seeing a room with 2 chairs and some pictures behind me. But if there was clutter everywhere, we'll just say, my subconscious mind might go deep into some traumatic fear of how it was growing up when things were out of order and there was chaos and punishment and sometimes severe. And so I might react, even though it might not be a big deal to Dave. In my subconscious mind, it's traumatic. Right. And my brain signals that, and I go to that part of my brain and I react. Mm-hmm. And so I have learned to love myself well by investigating the reaction. Okay, why did you respond that way? Because that's going to bring division and cause trauma to others. So let's go and find out what part of my subconscious mind is still dictating things in my adult world today.
Yeah, what's the trigger point?
Yeah, because
where's the wound that you still have, and what still hasn't been healed by Jesus?
Yeah, and sometimes, even though we both experienced supernatural healing, you have to relearn old patterns. If we had an old way of dealing with things, we'll say you went to pornography to cope.
We learn old patterns.
Not relearn old patterns.
Yeah. Learn not to go back.
Learn not to go back. So we have to almost reparent ourselves. Learn how to do relationships outside of that. So any kind of sexual addiction or any addiction. We say sexual because that was our drugs of choice. Right. But what it does is it disconnects. It's a way of disconnecting and pulling away. So intimacy is something that can then be scary. You don't really know how to connect with a person. And that, because you haven't had to, you don't have to connect to do pornography, or even the form that I used, which was actual just having sex. I didn't need to connect with anyone. It was more the thrill of the victory in a sense. So it wasn't about connecting. If anything, it was the opposite of. So we
have to connect.
No, you don't. And so we have had the biggest struggle of learning how to connect in a safe way, and not run. Right. So that's part of the reactionary responses. You might want to go run and isolate, or I see fight or flight.
Work, I'll go do chores. I'll go do something. I'll go be busy. I'll busy myself is my go-to.
Yeah, and I'll just
deal with it.
I just cut off. I'm just like, I'm silent then. I don't want to talk about it. I'll just go to Ross for less. That's like my go-to. I'm going to Ross.
Going to Ross.
Going to Ross.
Yeah.
I don't have to buy anything. I'm going to Ross. Because I'm just like.
But it's also learning that sometimes that's not even healthy. That we need to really sometimes stop and confront what's happening and not give in to the reaction or the response, our trauma response. Our shutdown and going into survival mode. When sometimes got to do the hard stuff. Could be just staying.
Yeah, and learning to love yourself, because there's a little frightened girl in there, or boy, or teenager, or whatever, that's incredibly frightened and experienced something horrible that never learned how to deal with it.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, wait, let's learn. Let's get to the truth. Let's figure out what it is, where you are, why are you still imprisoned there?
Yeah.
And in many cases, the prison door's open. We just don't want to walk out. And Jesus is always there going, come on, and here we go. This is round number 10. Okay, and
you're done there. Let's do it again.
He's there in your corner going, come on, you can do this. And we sometimes just are stuck.
Yeah.
And we think, and in many cases, and that's why survival mode, we talked about survival mode, it's you're a survivor. Yeah. I just have to survive.
What do I got to do?
I'm just going to survive.
What's the next thing on my list I got to take care of?
Yeah. And you've already got your exit planned out. That's the first thing I know. Exit, stage left.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, you're going left and I'm going to the right. So,
even for me, being someone who is raised in a lot of trauma, many cases, and I'm a feeler. I am a feeler. I sense things. I sense and see. And I'll enter a room, and it's overwhelming. It's sometimes, okay, I immediately am checking my exits because of everything I'm picking up. And so I have to then learn as well. Okay, wait a minute, what's the truth here? Okay, and I'll go to the whole, all right, it's the left side of my brain that is saying it carries the fear. And that means I don't feel safe. Okay, there's not a bear coming down to chase me. I'm okay. I'll go through what I'm wearing, what shoes I'm wearing.
It's coming back to reality.
What earrings, just to try to bring me back to reality. Instead of allowing that left side of my brain to take over. And the next thing you know, I'm in the corner sucking my thumb. So it is really cool that you can learn these techniques on how to love yourself well through it, instead of allowing the fear or jealousy or whatever it is that is your go-to. Comparison's a big one. That causes reactionary
and I think also
anger.
Back to the reactionary stuff. I mean, good deal. This season is usually that holiday season from like Thanksgiving to Christmas to New Year's. That's a trigger point for a lot of people.
It was for me. I was
a lot of different reasons.
Crying all day Thanksgiving.
And for most people, it has good times and bad times, but that's a point that could be hard for some people.
Yeah, if you've had loss of loved ones or
relationships or marriage or family members or friends. Even jobs, people lost jobs. So there's a lot of things that could bring on a trauma response. Or
somebody's
trigger.
sick.
And so it's to be aware of that. Like I know myself, walking into the season, I go into survival mode sometimes, and I go, okay, Dave, you don't got to go to survival mode, So we got to figure that out and recognize what's happening and say, okay, Jesus, you got this. Jesus, I just need to lay it back down to you and just need to trust you, and I don't need to worry about this. I don't need to worry about January's coming up, and
taxes.
And that's actually been weighing on me, and she knows, and so it's one of those things.
Ding 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 ding.
Ding, 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 ding. That's right. Absolutely right.
And survival mode is a place of fear. It is. It's just bottom line, it's fear, and it's a place where you're believing that you're alone and it's only up to you when it's not. And one of the things that the Lord showed me the other day is that, be still and know verse that I'm God. Is that Psalm 46:10? I might be wrong, but he said, look up, be still, and find out the meaning in Hebrew. And I'm like, okay. And it means surrender and to let go. So I'm like, okay, that was the point behind be still and know. It's to completely surrender to the God of the universe, recognizing and agreeing with, coming into agreement with just how big he is. That's the knowledge of who he is. So from this place of knowledge of just how almighty powerful he is, we can surrender everything to him, and then we enter into this place of complete stillness. And I think that's the key, because if you're there, you're not going to be in fear, because love and fear are different. We've talked about this. Yep. God's love is perfect. It casts out all fear. So if we're in fear, we're not perfected in his love. And so it's like that place where I've got to be like, okay, Lord, where am I not comfortable with you? Because if I'm feeling fear, I'm not then in complete agreement or relationship with you. And you are love, so therefore I'm somewhere not getting that, and I have to go after that. I got to go back and say, where am I not comfortable with God? Since he is love. And for me, that was easy, because you don't understand agape love when you're in addiction. It's in many cases is why you went to addiction, is because you somehow felt shamed, abandoned, both. In many cases, a lot. Rejection, failure, guilt, all of it, betrayal. And so you're going to those other sources to try to cover it up, to try to make yourself, to medicate. But it doesn't work. I'm here to tell you. it,
Yeah, you
it
usually
don't
at the
work.
end you're feeling more shame and guilt afterwards. So it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah,
bring you true
true.
happiness or
And you're
true
still
joy.
then in survival mode. You're
Right.
still surviving and just trying to, and striving and just trying to get through. And in many cases, you're just getting pulled deeper and deeper and deeper. And so that's why we're really big with also deliverance. But we like to also, it seems like deliverance has become such a horrible term to use,
Right.
which is unfortunate. It's like been, it
Well, the
seems like you're
exorcist.
shamed if you're into deliverance. It's like, what?
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful word. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful gesture of the Holy Spirit coming in and trying to completely free you from things that he knows is only going to contaminate
Right.
and bring more hardship. And I think if we understood that part of it, and it's not giving the demons power, it's giving Holy Spirit a welcoming mat to come in and do what he desires to do. And I think you have to see it from the perspective of the love of the Father. And I think when you get into just how much he loves us and that be still and know just how amazingly big he is, you give him that welcome mat. It's like here, and I have done that where I bought a new welcome mat. And I'm like, here, this is a new welcome mat. You're free to come into my home, not only my physical home, but my spiritual home, and dwell there. And I just want to camp out there, let him be here with me and release from me whatever is not from him, and then release into me from what is. And so it's just this constant exchange, I feel. And we like to call it breakthrough as well, because you do get breakthrough when you get freedom from certain
Mind oppression.
whatever
label
you're
it as
being
Yeah.
held down by,
Right.
and
held back. And
held back
down,
by, held down, and just for me, I can speak from having experiences with deliverance. Not only have I been in deliverance sessions with many deliverance pastors from all walks of life and from all different countries, and I'm not boasting in any way. It's just you get to see how they all work, but you also get to see how Jesus works in all of them, and he works the same way, which is he's all about freedom. That I've been delivered
love.
myself, so I have felt the shift. I have felt the before and the after, so that I know that it's real, and I know that I then was set free. And I can't deny that. I cannot and I don't want to water it down, and I feel like everything's being watered down lately.
For those that have seen The Chosen, the part with Mary.
Yes, that was me.
That was
And
that
so I experienced that when I met him on when he came into my bedroom Good Friday of 2012. That was what I experienced, was what Mary experienced in that first episode, and it was transformational. But she recognized, she knew, not only did he call her by her original name, but she knew she had been free because just of that touch. And so you have changed. You're not the same person you were before.
Right.
And I'm sure you experienced that. I've even seen growth in just from you, even in the last few years. It's just when you shame will poison your soul, and you will walk in that shame, and so you're not going to become all that the Lord has called you to be. And so it's just been cool watching you as you've gotten out of shame, and I see him walking in his sonship, who he is. And we're not sons of Jesse's, we're sons and daughters of the Most High God. And so that's a difference too. It's not walking in any kind of slavery or
different mindset. It's not having a mindset of fear. It's having a mindset of love. It's having his mindset in his heart, in his desire for us. Our desires being his desires, not our own desires, not any longer.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that Dave and I are big with humility, because it's the heart of the Father. It's Jesus. So it's not that because we've experienced this stuff about sexual shame. I I think what we can experience the most that we want to pass on is just the love of the Father.
Sure.
And how much he loved us through it. Even though we were sinners, he just loved us.
Yeah.
And that's the part that needs to be seen. In a world that is just filled with fear and hate right now, it's like no matter what, the Lord just loves us, and he loves us so much that he desires that freedom.
Yep.
He desires us to walk alongside him. I love Enoch. You know, he called Enoch his friend, and he walked with Enoch, and then he was just Enoch just was gone. And I'm like, me. That's what I want.
Take with Jesus.
After we walked and we're friends and I'm done.
Yeah.
So yeah, anything else on the throne? We just got sick of it. We're just done striving. It's just like everything becomes such a chore, and I'm like, it just can't be this hard.
Right.
It can if we choose for it to be, but we just didn't want to choose that road anymore, that path anymore. It's like, okay, we want the path that is about connection. Okay, our goal is to connect.
Right.
Let's keep that in mind.
It's also we don't want to partner with those demons anymore, those addictions or those things that are holding us back. I mean, there's some people out there, they're still, they haven't got to the point where they want to give them up, and that's okay. You still love the person, you just don't love the addiction.
You don't love what demon they carry or what spirit they carry, but you love them.
Sometimes you do have to set some healthy boundaries too.
Yes.
When people that are still walking in that stuff and still have those struggles, you need to keep yourself with a healthy boundary.
Right.
But you still love that person.
Right.
As Jesus loved that person.
Right, and in many cases, sometimes we're just there to plant a seed.
Yeah.
Along their
That's
path, and that's it. It's not our job to do anything else. And I'm a big one to ask the Father, what is it? What is my job right now for you? And sometimes it's nothing. Sometimes it's like nothing. I don't need your help.
And sometimes it's just
I'm like, you don't, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And other times it's to share your testimony. That other person may end up getting hope from it. So it's a lot of different things.
But there's enough shame going around that I think the key is just to try. And for me, this was what I had to work on myself first, is in order for me to love anybody else from a place of wholeness, I had to learn how to love myself.
Right.
And I did not love myself for a while after coming out of my addiction. I felt like a dirty, filthy person, so that's the only part of me that I knew. And so it was like I had to completely relearn or learn about myself, but from a different perspective.
I think it was more learning who you really are, not who you were. I think that's learning the true self. Right.
Yeah. And so I knew that I had to learn how to love myself first. And I did a Bible study recently, we both were. And one of the questions at the end was, who do you need to learn how to love? And I'm like, myself.
Yeah.
She was referring to other people, and I'm like, me? Because until I know how to love myself completely, even my poop, like when I make mistakes, I'm not going to be able to show that to anyone else. I'm not going to be able to show grace to anyone if I don't have grace. I'm not going to be able to show forgiveness to anyone if I can't forgive myself. I mean, you can't give what you don't have. Mm-hmm. And so it's like always, Lord, just work on me and my heart, so that when you do send me on assignment, that I'm going to be able to pour out. I'm not going to be, it's not going to be draining me. I'm just going to be pouring out from already the overflow, and it's just going to keep. But it is going to be from this pureness, and it's going to be, so the words I speak are not going to offend or hurt, or shame.
You're not going to speak from the wounded person that you were.
And that's so important, is to, because I was sharing this with someone the other day, if there was a pitcher, a water pitcher, sitting in my cabinet for 3 years, collecting dust, and I take it out and I pour milk in it, it's going to be cluttered with the filth that's been sitting there for 3 years. And in many cases, that's what we do as vessels. We have this stuff that's still in there and it's cluttering things. And even though the Lord pours in and he always is pouring in his living water. If it's getting tainted and mucked up with all this stuff that we haven't dealt with, when we pour out, it's going to contaminate. So it's always making sure our vessels are clean.
Not letting go. I mean, because he wants us to give it up. He wants us to release it. Sometimes we're just still hanging on to it because it's familiar for us.
And sometimes it's because we're comfortable with it.
Right.
I'm comfortable being a victim. I'm comfortable being in shame or whatever it may be. It was a very comfortable place, and we have to get uncomfortable. And that can take time. Yeah. And it's an uncomfortable place. So I'm always like, okay, but remember, comfort is on the other side of discomfort. Sometimes you just got to get through it. And it can, boy, I know at times it feels like quicksand. You're just like, gosh, this is hard, and where's the rope?
Yeah.
Throw me a rope! Throw me a bone!
Throw me a bone. All right. Well, we're running about 25 minutes.
Yeah, we like to honor time.
We really appreciate everyone tuning in and checking us out. We do have the YouTube channel, so you can subscribe to that. We have the Instagram, and we have Facebook. So this is back to being the holiday season, and sometimes it's a tough season. So with that being said, people can be triggered, and maybe people that you're around may be triggered. So sometimes you may have to understand that they may be in a trigger response, and not to get triggered yourself. But also, if you want to reach out, you can send us a direct message or Facebook, Facebook Messenger or something. You can reach out to us if you have questions or want to bounce something off us.
Yeah, we have a
or
new
just want us to pray for you.
Breakthrough group starting in January. Hopefully, we've finished the first one, so we're getting some feedback.
Yeah, January, February. We're gonna figure the starting time out, and we'll get that out there.
And then we also do individual and couple breakthrough deliverance sessions too.
Right.
So if you're interested in
just so you know, there's help out there.
Yes, there is.
And we're available.
And it's done in a loving atmosphere.
Right.
No shame, no disgrace. It's just love.
Nothing
to be afraid of. What? What do you think of?
It was the movie with Keanu Reeves, the Christ Compels You. I don't know, the exorcism type movie.
Oh yeah,
Power like that. No, we don't do that. It's all about love.
Yeah. A lot of times you don't even know that it's happened. So
sometimes, it's usually not us. It's Jesus.
It says Jesus.
So it's so cool.
He's so cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that said, you want to close in prayer today?
Yeah, I do. And I'm just seeing Ryan, really good, y'all, sharing this. Oh, thank you. Yes, please share.
Yep.
You know, it's definitely our heart to bring people together and to see less divorces. A lot of times people run, and part of running is divorce. You know, you just quickly, not that that's for everyone, but as a runner, you know, that's kind of what my go-to was, instead of seeing that I was a common denominator and work on myself. So anyway, I just got the tap on my back.
2 minutes, we hit 30 minutes, so we're trying to be honoring, at least keep it
all right,
30 minutes.
Let's close in prayers. In Jesus, we thank you, and we ask, Lord, that you would come to us and teach us more about the be still, and know that you are God. Manifest in our lives. Show us your presence. We want it tangible. We want to experience that perfect love. We surrender fully to you. And Lord, I ask that if there's anyone here that might be having a hard time with that, just show them, Lord, your heart for them, and show them your heart for surrender. And what he's showing me right now, it's a form of worship even. So even if you just turn on worship music and see yourself surrendering and ask him, you know, what am I struggling with surrendering? What am I still hanging on to? And I believe that I need to hang on to it. Where am I doubting you, Father? Where have I thought that your crucifix wasn't enough? And even the sacrifice of your son wasn't enough for me. So just see what he shows you, and then if you can, and you know, in my case, you know, sometimes I've had to ask him to help me to release it, you know, because I can't do it, but I know Jesus can do it, and I can do it with his help. So Jesus, I invite you in as well, and to minister and do what you do so well, which is to embrace and comfort and love. And we love you guys, and we just Merry Christmas.
Yay.
This is such a joyful time, and it's the birth of Jesus. So we just love you guys, and we celebrate you, and we celebrate your victory. Celebrate, even if it was something little, it's still worthy of celebration. And I pray all this in Jesus' name.
And we'll see you next week at 8 o'clock.
Yes.
All right.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye.